goaltending has become a story for the first time in this series, and it has been the same story that we saw last year, which is that Stu is much better than Ottinger.
Let's begin with the Western Conference Final, because that's what we got today. It continued, and the Oilers go up 2-1, a 6-1 drubbing of the Dallas Stars. When we last spoke, I think we knew, but we couldn't say for sure. We knew that Stu Skinner was in a good space and was going to be doing great. He'd allowed, I think, 5 goals the previous game, but we've been alive long enough to know that there was probably some good performances coming from Stu Skinner. We see a shutout in Game 2. We see a 1 goal against performance in Game 3 that ends our favorite statistic of all time from the great NHL Sid, that in this postseason, Stuart Skinner either records a shutout or posts a save percentage under .834. That sadly is done now. He's kind of leveled off, and he just had a good game today, which sucks, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, like you kind of just want only the very, like the perfect or the horrible. And he gave us I would say that this was like probably his best game.
I think the Game 2 might have been his. I think Game 2 he wasn't under siege like he was today, but Game 2, I was pretty sure the whole game Dallas wasn't going to score a goal. There were long stretches in the second period of this game where I was like, score a fucking goal. We'll get to the guys for Dallas that are underperforming in a minute, but Mikko Rantanen, when you are looking Stu Skinner plain in the face and no one's within 3 feet of you, you've got space to just beat Stuart Skinner. And I'm not just saying that derogatorily towards Stuart Skinner. If you've got a good, clear shot against anybody from in close, Mikko Rantanen, you have to score there.
For sure. I like 2.09 goals saved above expected for Stu Skinner in this game. I'd be willing to bet that's probably the high watermark.
Has to. Yeah, I bet that would be higher than last
just because he's
game.
been tested more. My big thing about Dallas is get to Stu early. Like, test him earlier. They were great in the second period of this Game 3 and like for a little bit in the third, but like you're not doing anything against him in the first period. You've given up the first goal in 14 of 16 playoff games so far. For a guy like Stu, who can be got, especially early on in games, to shake his confidence, they're just letting him kind of get hot.
I agree with that. He has come out of every game this series. There's only been 3, but even in Game 1, like he's made huge saves that tell me he's not a puddle. And sometimes you just need to know that he's not a puddle, because when he's off, he is very off, and you could tell. But he's come up with huge saves in each game this series, and a lot of it is like by the late first period, I'm like, he's a big fat guy who is square to everything. That is hard to beat. It's when he's not square to everything, and it's when he's sliding all over the place and he's moving around too much. I think Petey said that with us. He was like, Skinner's a good goalie until you make him move a lot, and if you get him to move a lot, then you can beat him. He's in the middle of everything, and they keep trying to kind of, I think it was Vegas that would like pepper him in like the shoulder and try to get him to get uncomfortable and awkward.
Yeah, you were saying that like you thought they were intentionally shooting high to make him feel awkward and lose the puck.
Yeah, and he's a little more positionally sound, and he just kind of like readjusts. And I'm famous last words, and I was biting my tongue on a lot of stuff in Game 2 where I said, I know that he's not going to allow a goal this game, but I still waited till after the game to spike the football and be like, oh, you bitches, because even with 3 minutes left, it's just hockey. You never know what's going to happen. Coward move on my part? Yes, of course. I didn't think we were going to start with goalie stuff, but once I open the door, I feel like we got to be in there. Is it happening again, the Stu and Ottinger thing?
I mean, like too soon to tell. 3 games, but like goaltending has become a story for the first time in this series, and it has been the same story that we saw last year, which is that Stu is much better than Ottinger.
I don't think that Ottinger's been that bad. I think that Ottinger is playing against a team that has 1 million players scoring right now. Yeah. And Jake Ottinger faced a 3-on-1 today. And shout out Harley was very interested in that being a 3-on-1. He's like, this could be a 3-on-2. What happens if it's a 3-on-1? we can walk through a lot of the goals that Jake Ottinger has allowed, and it's the same story we were saying after game one, where there's a combination of could have stopped and maybe like one or two should have stopped.
I mean, the Klingberg one was horrible, but the game was already over.
At that point, it was just a bunch of people saying, fuck it, let's get out of here. I think it's happening again. And I don't think that Jake Ottinger has a Stuart Skinner thing, and I don't think Stu Skinner has a Jake Ottinger thing, but I know through 3 games, one goalie has been a lot better than the other, and one team has needed their goalie to be a lot better than he's been, and that's been the Dallas Stars. But that is in part due to the fact that Dallas doesn't have a lot of guys going right now. After the game, after this 6 goals against performance from Jake Ottinger, in which he allowed 3 the previous 2 games, so nothing terrible, but nothing amazing. Peter DeBoer was asked about Jake Ottinger.
Listen, I think, we wouldn't be here, sitting here in the conference finals without Jake Ottinger and how he's played. Tonight was one of those games where, they were opportunistic, and then once they got the lead, we're pushing to get back in, and there's grade A's the other way. So, one thing I know about Jake Ottinger, for me, is he's one of the best response goalies in the league, and I know he's not going to drag around tonight's game.
Okay, I know that you have to say that, but like Peter DeBoer's having a tough series at the mic, I would say. The response goalie thing, Pete and I were watching that before we went on, and like both of us kind of looked at each other, and I jumped over to Jake Ottinger's game logs, and like that's not true. I'm seeing like a lot of 4 goals against followed by 5 goals against and 5 goals against, or 5 goals against followed by 4 goals against, 4 goals against. And you can't blame everything on Cody Ceci, folks.
Maybe he's just he's putting the team in a position to bounce back. This is the first time all playoffs that the Dallas Stars have lost back-to-back playoff games.
This is the first time that they've I said this going into the series. I'm like, I don't think the Dallas Stars are playing as well as everyone thinks they are. It's very exciting that the Dallas Stars team that we had left for dead is winning games and is going back to the conference finals with an unbelievable roster. But the reason why I have my money on the Oilers, other than all this shit that you see on me, is that the Oilers were playing really well, and the Stars had 2 guys going, and if a third guy was going, it was the goalie. But we've seen he can be got, just like Edmonton's goalie can be got, just like a lot of goalies can be got, which is why typically you don't want to go into the postseason with your big thing, Winnipeg, being, hey, we've got a good goalie. You need other things happening.
Yeah, the difference is when you get Stu Skinner, it's a disaster. And when you get Jake Ottinger, it doesn't look nearly as bad, which is like, that's fine, but it's just kind of the way that it is.
We all silly like the mayor.
To say that the Hurricanes don't deserve to be here is probably wrong, but they are in a different class and a different tier of team than the Florida Panthers, and that's ultimately my takeaway.
Let's begin, though, with the millions of questions that this Game 2 between the Panthers and Hurricanes leaves you with. 5-0 win for the Panthers. They are now up 2-0 in the series, having won both games on the road, and boy, it does not look good for the Hurricanes, and a lot of people are saying, damn, should the Hurricanes even be here? What the hell is this? To that I say, let's respect the Florida Panthers a little bit. Can we just say that the Stanley Cup champions got Brad Marchand and Seth Jones? Can we say that this is happening because one team is awesome? We can also say it's happening because this is what the other team, the Hurricanes, do all the time in the conference final anyway. But I feel this year more than others, people see the Hurricanes and what's going on. They're like, oh, of course this is happening. This should be anybody else. Hurricanes are in their way here. They're getting their asses kicked like men. And this is what it is. That's my read.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly my read, too. It is men versus boys. Unfortunately, the Hurricanes are the boys. But, those are also the boys that kick the shit out of, other boys in these playoffs. And so there is an element of respect that is definitely due to the Carolina Hurricanes. And not only did. They beat the Devils, who you can say whatever you want about the Devils and how banged up they were, but then they moved on and they beat the top team in the Eastern Conference during the regular season. As maybe paper tigery as the Washington Capitals were, the Caps looked like shit against the Hurricanes.
The Hurricanes beat them easily.
They beat the piss out of them. And I think that to say that the Hurricanes don't deserve to be here is probably wrong, but they are in a different class and a different tier of team than the Florida Panthers, and that's ultimately my takeaway.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. That happened to the Hurricanes against the Bruins. That happened to the Hurricanes 2 years ago against the Panthers.
It happened to the Rangers last year, President's Trophy winners against the Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference Final. And like a lot of people were asking the question yesterday, like, do we need to retroactively cancel the Metro Division? Because every time the Metro Division is represented in the Eastern Conference Final, they just get fucking waxed. And yeah, that's true. But also, I think it's just partially because as it stands right now, all of the best teams in the Eastern Conference are just in the Atlantic. I think the top 4 teams from the Eastern Conference are from the Atlantic Division.
That happens in every sport.
Right.
Like
it's just the way it is right now.
Right. It's the way it is right now. Other question I have. You know where I'm going to lean on this. Were we too hard on the Leafs? Panthers are crip walking, moonwalking, whatever you want to say, their way to the Stanley Cup final. Were we too hard on the Leafs?
The answer is no, because it's not that, again, keep coming back. It's not that the Leafs lost. It's how the Leafs lost. It's the Leafs got out to a 2-0 lead. They won game 6. They fought back, but you laid 2 absolute fucking duds in games 5 and 7 at home. That doesn't change. They showed that they could play with the Panthers. Yeah, we give them credit for that. We always gave them credit for that. You didn't show up in game 5 and 7. That doesn't retroactively change.
I think the Leafs were really good this year, and I think that one team wins the Stanley Cup. Come back to me, Sean. I think that one team wins the Stanley Cup every year. So be that as it may, Leafs, and we're clearly seeing now, Leafs are a lot closer to the Panthers than the Hurricanes are. So I don't know, it's two sides of the same coin. Maybe you should still be pissed off at the Leafs. They're like, damn, like you were as good, right around as good as the Panthers, and you squandered that. The other side of that is, again, like, you could be playing the Hurricanes right now. In the Leafs against the Hurricanes, I think the Leafs would be mowing down the Hurricanes because I think that both of those teams from the Atlantic are way better than Carolina. But I say respect the Hurricanes. They got their way there. One team wins, and clearly it seems it's going to be the Panthers.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be the Panthers. I don't know if the Leafs would run over the Hurricanes. I think that there is an element here of like, transitive property doesn't always apply because of the styles and the strategies and the systems that these teams play with.
And the mental aspect if you're talking about the Leafs.
Correct. And like, I don't know. Like, so I just feel like Carolina is a similar version of Florida, but just not nearly as good and not nearly as strong mentally, not nearly as seasoned, not nearly as talented at the top. And we're kind of seeing all that come to the surface, and they're just getting beat like at their own game.
Do you think right now that the Panthers are the Stanley Cup champion?
Like I would put them in the lead because they're the one team that I can guarantee that at this point looks like they're going to get there. But I mean, Edmonton took them to 7 games last year. And I would say without Tkachuk being super effective, and if like the Oilers have their depth going, or if I guess if either the Stars or the Oilers have their depth going, the goaltending looks okay. Like both of those teams, I think would be a little bit stronger than what we saw from Edmonton last year.
I agree. And I'd summarize your answer with not definitely.
Not definitely, but like, more than likely at this point.
So I would say more. I would not say more than likely. I think that because I don't know who comes out of the West, but I think that it's 50-50 against either of those teams. I think I like Florida more against Dallas than I do against Edmonton. But if Dallas gets there and the Oilers aren't assholes, it means that Heiskanen got a lot stronger. It means that Robertson came alive at some point. It means that Ottinger is still doing his thing. Like you gotta kind of like when we were talking about what the Western Conference Final would look like, where it was either going to be Edmonton facing the Stars or it was going to be Edmonton facing a Jets team that must have played unbelievable for 3 games. So if the Stars get there, then
Yeah, but does this element matter to you? Like, as it's trending right now, and we'll see what happens tonight in game 2, but as it's trending right now, looking like it might be a quick series in Florida, Carolina, and Dallas and Edmonton very well could just beat the shit out of each other through 7 games.
Can I admit something horrible that I did yesterday?
Oh boy.
I bet the Edmonton Oilers to win this series in 5 games.
I knew that. I knew you were going to say that.
Ridiculous behavior.
Insane behavior. But if it happened, that would.
But it's something that could happen knowing these guys.
I think literally
it's not going to happen.
Anything is possible in that series.
Right. They could be swept. Yep. Like if Dallas's odds to sweep were higher, maybe you jump on that instead.
Literally the only guarantee is that the Oilers won't sweep this series. I think anything else is on the table.
We all silly like the mayor.
I am more impressed with the Panthers than I was before, just because staying on top is harder than getting there.
From The Sheet, our favorite show, it's Jeff Merrick. Merrick, how are you,
boys?
buddy?
I am very well. How are you today, gentlemen? Oh, by the way, can I tell a quick story to kick off today's guest appearance here on the show?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay, so was upstairs before I came down here to, first of all, supervise the first 20 minutes of the program. Well done.
Thank you.
Done. Chum the waters nicely for the remainder of the show. And I said, "Oh, when the coffee's ready, can you bring me one downstairs?" Great picture of me, by the way, that he got on the show. He looks like I'm falling asleep. I like that. She says, "What show are you doing?" And I go, "I'm on with the What Chaos Boys." She goes, "That's the Dog Zamboni, right?" I'm
yes.
Like, oh, you know it. It's the Dog Zamboni show. Let's go.
The branding is strong.
Yes.
It's still my favorite. It's still like one of my favorite things in all of hockey, not just like in hockey podcasts. The Dog Zamboni the Zamboni dog rather. I guess Dog Zamboni works too. It's still one of the best things.
It's great imagery. We've now named him the what mutt, which is the what for what chaos and the mutt because all dogs are created equal. Okay, if you're the Florida Panthers. Do you just re-sign Brad Marchand at this point? I've had him gone getting top dollars somewhere forever because he's just at that point in his career. But if you're the Panthers and you have the 32 ranked prospect pool in the NHL, according to The Athletic, are you like, you know what? Do we just keep these guys? Like, do we just bid Aaron Ekblad adieu, figure we can try to recreate that in the aggregate and then bring back Marchand and Bennett?
So there's a few things here on Marchand. That was a really good conversation about that you guys talked about with the Boston Bruins and Sweeney and Marchand coming down off of his ask as Elliot reported last week. Okay, let me back up here. The only reason we're having this conversation is because Brad Marchand got traded and he's doing these things that Brad Marchand is doing right now. And I still would have Sam Bennett as my Conn Smythe winner, but you can make a strong case for Brad Marchand as well. We'll see what happens in the next game or maybe 2 games if Edmonton can turn things around tomorrow. He wouldn't be doing this with the Boston Bruins. Like the reason he's set up for but right now, if you're a Boston Bruins fan, if they had re-signed him, you'd feel good because emotional leader, spiritual leader, all that. He's our guy. He's our captain, fumes of the past, 2011 Stanley Cup and all of that. But he's doing this because he's on the Florida Panthers. And is he in line for a massive payday? Yes. I just don't know if it's going to be from the Florida Panthers. And here's why. The Florida Panthers have done a really good job identifying players that are undervalued elsewhere. Like, as much as we look at the Florida Panthers and say, oh, look, it's a team that bases all their decisions on how hard a player plays and how gritty and how tough they are. And they sign guys and pick them up off waivers and make trades for guys that have stones. Like, these are Florida Panthers players. That team doesn't do anything without consulting their head of analytics, Sonny Mehta. Like, Sonny Mehta here is one of the best kept secrets in the NHL. Bill Zito doesn't make a move until consulting his. I know this is an argument that was like over a million years ago, but I was having a conversation. I wrote about this in my blog today. I was having a conversation with the manager last week, and I said, if you rank the teams that base their decisions on what their analytics department feels about those players, how would you rank the NHL? He said, number one is the obvious. It's the Carolina Hurricanes. Like, and we all know that. And he said, number two will surprise you. I said, why? He said, it's the Florida Panthers. Nothing happens without Sonny Mehta saying, yeah, we should do this. So I am very much of the feeling that if they move on from Brad Marchand, that's fine, because in their mind, and Carolina's this way too, and we saw this, last year, letting all those players walk and they still get to the Eastern Conference Final, they can find someone to replace him. Just like I don't think that they would be, entirely put out if Aaron Ekblad ended up going to Utah or ended up going to Dallas or Toronto or wherever else he's sort of rumored to go, because in their minds, they've done it before and they can do it again. They can identify and they can bring in the guys, whether it's Gustav Forsling, who's, an ultimate example. Sam Bennett was someone who was not working at all with the Calgary Flames. They have that ability. This is, as much as it looks like an old school eye test team, this is one of the most progressive organizations in the entire NHL. It really is. That's why I think if Marchand's going to go and chase the money and he's going to get paid, I just don't think it's going to be with Florida.
Yeah, we all know he's going to Utah.
Utah Mammoth. Pencil it in.
Yeah. Okay. Let me throw another one out at you then. So one of the other teams that was really hot on Brad Marchand at trade deadline, I mean, it didn't really matter because he wanted to go to Florida, and that's ultimately where he ended up going, were the Dallas Stars. And if Jason Robertson is gone, if they move him, try to recapture the capital that they lost, making the Jason Robertson move, would it surprise anybody if the Dallas Stars, once again, tried to bring in Brad Marchand? Wouldn't surprise me at all.
He would have to change his name to Marsh Antonin, and then they would sign him. He's not finished.
Right. You have to be Finnish. Yes, I know the Finnish mafia there. Here's one more thing on Brad Marchand. So I was thinking about this on the weekend. I'm really curious your thoughts on this. So just in the salary cap era, okay, we're all fascinated with the third line in the Stanley Cup, right? Your third line is where you win Stanley Cups. The top six is all going to wash. You're going to win the Stanley Cup based on your third line. I've always maintained the best third line that I've seen in the salary cap era is Anaheim 2007. So Sammy Paulson, Travis Moen, and Rob Niedermeyer. Now you can also look at Coleman and Gourde and Goudreau with the Tampa Bay Lightning and say, hold on a second here, Mr. 2007 Anaheim Ducks. And then we have Lundell Luosterainen and Brad Marchand.
What about HBK?
I was going to say, yeah.
Okay, I know. And throw Pittsburgh in there as well. Okay, we'll throw HBK in there as well. I don't know how to order those four now. I don't know how to organize those four. I really don't.
It's definitely the Rushmore. Like if you're looking at Mount Rushmore third lines in the
lines, that's
cap era, that's got to be it. Some order of that. So yeah, I mean, I'm firmly of the belief that the third line is kind of what separates the good from the great, and it's been great for the Panthers during this postseason. Did want to ask you, through 5 games, and DJ had this question. It's a great question. Do you feel any differently about the Panthers or the Oilers versus how you came into the Stanley Cup final?
I am more impressed with the Panthers than I was before, just because staying on top is harder than getting there. Right? Staying there. It's the Rocky story, right? If you're not hungry, you won't eat. Marvin Hagler used to always have the great line. It's hard to get up at 5 a.m. to do road work when you're sleeping in silk pajamas. And I always thought that was from my favorite boxer of all time, the marvelous one, Marvin Hagler. It's tough to stay on top. Now, the Florida Panthers, and it was actually, Glenn Sather, the old Oilers general manager, who used to always make this point, in order to keep things fresh, you have to change 15% of your team every year. No matter what, you win the Stanley Cup, doesn't matter. You can't keep the band together. Now, that was in the era where you could, because there was no salary cap, and a lot of it is done now out of economic necessity. But, and again, this goes back to the previous point. Like, you look what the Florida Panthers have been able to do by way of identifying and have guys fit into this team. And it's like, fuck, guys, it's like an Olympic diver into the water. Like, there's no ripple. Like Seth Jones, right, who's just like floundering and just like, oh man, my career in Chicago for how long? Like, all of a sudden, this is the Seth Jones that we were talking about, maybe going first overall, coming out of Portland. And could he be better than Nathan McKinnon and Alexander Barkov? And Brad Marchand, the correct. No one's talking about the injuries. No one's talking about, double hip surgery for Brad Marchand anymore. No one's talking about Four Nations. Is all of a sudden, who's going to give this guy 8.5 times 3? And someone probably will. But like, they identify and get guys into this lineup so seamlessly. And this is like, they've already been to the buffet once. Right, they're already they're already on like their second turn, actually in this case third, turn back to the buffet. So I'm even more impressed at the Florida Panthers, and even coming off what Paul Maurice talked about last year on the ice after he won, and he talked about the other teams and the other players around the league that he wants to experience this. Like, he wasn't talking about like, and we're going back for more, and we're gonna set records. Like, no, it was like, I want everybody to experience this. That's how great it is. I don't know. This is a long-winded answer. I'm more impressed with Florida than I have been before. Now, watch Edmonton rip off 2 in a row, have a parade in the City of Champions, and we'll just pretend this interview never happened.
Have you felt there have been trends? Anything? I mean, we've talked about the staggering stat of the Oilers have led after one regulation period this series, and that obviously the starts for Florida have been insane. But we went into the series with the rule of no takeaways because both of these teams have just had too many. To say ups and downs would make it sound like they're bad teams, but just like both these teams have proven over the last 2 seasons and postseasons that absolutely anything can happen. Have you watched the series and felt like, okay, I've learned this about X and this is going to happen now? Because like going into game 6, like, I don't want to ask you, what do you think happens? Because I don't want any of us to look dumb.
Yeah. Well, here's the one thing that I know about the Florida Panthers, and I haven't felt this way about a team since the Babcock Wings. And that is, they are the masters of one of the things that I think is the hardest thing to achieve. And they do this as a team. And that is the 1-minute penalty. So Mike Babcock's team would set casual picks all the time. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of technically it's interference, but it's not egregious. And man, it's the playoffs and you're an official and you don't want to call that because it doesn't feel like 2 minutes. But if we had a 1-minute penalty, I'd call it, but it doesn't rise to the level of 2 minutes. Panthers are there, but it's not just like interference. It's everything. I don't know that I've seen a team consistently hit that target of what we do, shift in and shift out. If there was a 1-minute penalty, we'd be called every shift. And that all just accumulates throughout the game, right? Like, it's one tiny little thing here in the first shift. And then a couple of shifts later, it's another one. And then by the time the third period rolls around, Edmonton is pulling their hair out. And everyone that plays against them is pulling their hair out because it's been an accumulation of 1-minute penalties and you're frustrated as hell. The other thing that I know about, let me know what you think about this one. I think that Corey Perry could play on the Florida Panthers yesterday. Like, could you not see Corey Perry playing on this team? I think we all could. So now what I believe, because we've seen Corey Perry go banana sandwich a couple of times here, right? I think this is for the first time in his career, Corey Perry knows what it feels like to play against Corey Perry. He really, really doesn't like it. And that's what Florida is serving up. And it's fascinating to watch Corey Perry realize, man, I'm miserable to play against. This is what it's like playing against me. I don't like this. Now I understand how everyone's felt for the last 20 years in the NHL. Man, I'm awful to play against.
It's the Spider-Man meme.
Spider-Man.
If Spider-Man realizes, like, that's an ugly motherfucker, like, that's pointing at me.
So does that mean that next year Corey Perry is going to retire because you just feel so bad about his history, or is he going to come back as therapy Corey Perry for a stretch run?
Ooh, You know what I wonder about with Corey Perry? Like I've wondered like if the Oilers win the Stanley Cup, if he just calls it, pieces out on the career, ends on the ultimate high. Like I've always had this like dream that I want some player to do this one day. Like when they retire, take their skates off at center ice, leave them and walk off. Like just do that. And just like the shot of like the skates beside the cup as skating, walking off into the sunset, to me, is just a gorgeous visual. But Corey Perry says he wants to keep playing. It'd be kind of cool if Corey Perry ended his career where it began, because the Anaheim Ducks are going to spend like crazy this summer. We know that. Could you not see Corey Perry finishing it in Anaheim?
Oh, I would love that.
He would look so funny in those bright ass orange.
Yeah,
uniforms.
man.
It is so funny that the Ducks rebranded to be like, ooh, we're a fun, vibrant group. And then they just trade for all the surly old guys like Jacob Trouba. They get Gudis. Now they got Kreider. If they get Corey Perry, it'll look like those guys, old men wearing weird young kids costumes. But I'm for it. That would be a great story. You love a great story. That's what I've gathered.
And a
about you.
visual.
I just cheer for stories.
On your 1 minute penalty thing, as you were saying that, I was like, that's not even to mention the Marchand goal from game 5, in which he is at the blue line with the puck before the puck has been dropped off the faceoff. Which
it's so close. It's so close to being blown down, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like as soon as the puck is about to be dropped, was it Podkolzin? He's jumping on Podkolzin. Like he's jumping in there fast. Again, like you're right. Like that's another example of the 1 minute penalty. And if there was a 1 minute penalty in the NHL, man, Florida would be filling the box. We don't have it. So Florida is the best team at getting away with it. And you'll watch it tomorrow. You'll see it so many. Once you sort of get your head around the idea of a 1 minute penalty, you'll see Florida doing it all game long. They are the masters of it. And it's a skill. Like, honestly, it is a skill to be able to walk that line and not rise to the level of a mind. Now, you step over sometimes, certainly, but like consistently, like they're the masters of this thing. And masters of the 60-second penalty.
That's what we were saying after game 3. Like a reason I don't golf is because when I'm golfing with the average man who golfs, they slice it into the woods and they're screaming and they're swearing and they're cursing themselves and everything. And what they don't realize is they're not good at golf. Why did they expect to hit it straight? Why are you mad? Why are you like, you're just not good at that? The Oilers after game 3 are doing they don't get called for anything. And every time that we do it, we get called for it. Yes, they're good at it. You're not good at it. You're doing it next to an official after a play. They're looking at you do that.
Being on the same way about golf too. Like I am awful, like to the point where like, just don't call me. I'm terrible. I don't have a good time. I'm bad at it. I always say, and you feel free to steal this one, you don't want me there because the best 2 balls I'll hit is when I step on a rake. It's all downhill from there, man. It's all downhill from there.
You know
That's
what Stoff says?
Second best golf quote that we've heard.
You know what Stoff says?
What's that?
Says, I want grinders, not golfers.
That's how he built his teams. It's such a good line.
I love Stoff, man. I love Bob Stoffer.
Off the trends thing, like I feel like the only trend or big grand takeaway I've kind of come away from the series with is that Edmonton is so much more volatile than Florida is. Florida is the most stable team that we've seen. And yeah, that's like an easy thing to say when they're the reigning Stanley Cup champions and then they're one win away again. But like this team never gets too high or too low. Whereas like Edmonton is constantly like the pendulum is swinging hardcore back and forth. Like, do you feel like Edmonton's too volatile?
I think as I'm hearing you describe this, Pete, the one thing that I'm thinking about, okay, so what's the basis of stability for a hockey team? Your goaltender.
Yeah.
Like Bob's there. Bob's got it. We're good. I can cheat a little because Bob's got it. I can do this because Bob's got it. And in the back of your mind, if you're an Edmonton Oiler, you're not saying that about either one of your guys. Like, let me throw this one out at you. The last team to win a Stanley Cup when the goaltender had a sub 900 save percentage was who?
That would be
Not Colorado.
Colorado, right? I thought Kemper finished below.
No, he was,
he
903.
like
I think
902?
903 or 902.
People were like Kemper's bad, which like but like he wasn't so bad. Not I want to say Bennington just to make people furious.
Nope,
but
not true.
He was
Not true.
indeed above 900. Would that give it to me? Oh, would it be a Corey Crawford?
No, was that one you would think?
Yes.
But no, and it wasn't even Anthony Niemi in 2010 either, or Michael Leighton on the other side when the losing cause for the Philadelphia Flyers in the Stanley Cup final. We say that had the worst two goaltenders in it. What are you guys doing in 1988?
Being born. I was listening to Injustice for All. Just doing stuff like that.
Nice. I was in the sack getting hit with rakes on the golf course.
Grant Fuhr, 1988.
Wow.
Damn.
That was the last time.
Yeah, but that was like a good save percentage in 88, wasn't it?
He had it in 88. It like honestly, you could get away with that. But in the new age of goaltending, like the Allaire Waugh era, and since you win the Stanley Cup, your goaltender's got a 900 save percentage.
So what you're saying
that's not Edmonton.
So
Edmonton.
What you're saying is when the Oilers get a sub 900 goaltending performance, they win the Stanley Cup.
That's true.
Like it.
Well, it was Grant Fuhr. I don't know if you want to give Grant a call now and say, can you rekindle the magic? You got 2 games left in you, Grant. But technically you're right. But that was before the goaltending position changed too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Like this wasn't until like what?
No, well,
I was going to say off the stability and goaltending thing. Do you know off the top of your head when the last time a team won a Stanley Cup with getting just one goaltender throughout the entirety of the playoffs? Because Sergei Bobrovsky has played every second of the Florida Panthers run this year, and
it feels feels like a Marty Brodeur stat to me. Who would not surrender the crease to anybody? It
like
feels
2003 or something.
Stat.
Yeah.
That's what it again. That's what it feels like.
You're a
like Bob even Bob's had a couple of clunkers along the way, but like the team shakes it off. Like they're fine. It's Bob. He's going to be fine. I think like all of your stability comes from how good your goaltender is. Like Ned Harkness, used to the old Detroit Red Wings coach from the 70s used to say, we need to change the name of the game from hockey to goaltender. Because at the end of it, like that's all that really matters. Why are we calling this thing hockey? Let's just call it what it should be called. Goalie. That's the sport. That's it.
I do think, and now we'll do the goalie thing, but like I do think that not that goaltending is overrated or anything, or not that it doesn't matter, but there is some irony in the fact that on the night Connor Hellebuck is awarded the Hart in a video in which he is fishing. Calvin Pickard and Stu Skinner are willing the Edmonton Oilers with pretty fine performances to a win over the $10.5 million goalie in the Stanley Cup final. So I do think that it isn't the end all be all, but you're very thoughtful, and I was putting a lot of thought into how the Oilers do their goalie thing after Game 4, and I know that you're not a big Stu guy, but my thinking was maybe I ultimately landed on go with Pickard in Game 5, but my concern was if you go with Pickard in Game 5 and then you have to turn back to Stu after a Pickard loss, you're saying, Stu, get out there on the road. We've yanked you from this building in the last 2 games. We didn't play you in Game 5 because we don't think you're the guy. Versus if they had just gone back to Stu for Game 5 and won that game, then great, you got 2 chances at winning the cup. Or if he loses, throw Pickard in for Game 6 and it's the backup goalie on the road and you're trying to look for some spark. How did you feel about it, and how do you feel now?
I think that first of all, you got to let go of feelings in the playoffs and not worry about if I'm going to offend my goaltender. What is this going to mean for next season? Like you can't think like that. Like this is like, who are we going to get the best performance out of tonight that's going to help us win? Listen, I didn't necessarily think they needed to go back to Pickard. I thought that it would have been fine going back to Skinner. Having said that, I think now they need to go to Skinner. But even then, I still think it's jump ball. All I do know is if the Oilers win if the Oilers win the next 2 games here, I'm going to be happy for one, maybe both of these guys. Like, I love the Pickard story, the guy who has never quit. You know, you guys have talked to a million hockey players, and they'll all tell you the same story. Hockey will always give you a reason to quit. Every player will have a reason every season to quit. So many guys have been given reasons to quit, right? Calvin Pickard's another in that long list. I'd be really happy for him. And I'd be really happy for Stu Skinner too, because he's heard it about his performance that, the Oilers win despite their goaltending, despite Stu Skinner for so long. I would just like that to sort of shake off of his back, and have his name on the Stanley Cup. Though I think that's going to happen. Jeez, I don't know, man. Florida's just been completely smothering the Oilers here, and it kind of makes me feel like, we're not talking about, Gustav Forsling enough through all of this. Like, one of the big stories here is just how the Florida Panthers have just blanketed the Edmonton Oilers here, and I think Gustav Forsling's a huge part of it. But nonetheless,
More like a wet blanket because he's always on the ice. That guy lies down a lot.
He does lie down a lot.
What are you implying here, sir? What are you trying to imply about Gustav Forsling?
No, it works for him, but it drives me crazy when Darnell Nurse lays out. Yet when Gustav Forsling lays out, it works every time. I'm like, fuck.
I know. Listen, I get it. Like the one egregious one, like the one, right? I get, like the Nurse one was bad, but that Evander Kane cross check in front of the net. I'm always amazed. I've made this point countless times. Everyone probably sick of me saying this. I didn't go past grade 11 physics, so I didn't get to the part where they talked about what happens when you put blue paint on ice, what happens to gravity. Apparently it just becomes that much more profound, and it just becomes that much stickier, I suppose, and players just fall down more naturally because the gravity is just stronger, I guess. I didn't know all you had to do was put blue paint on ice, but there it is right in front of us. I never went past grade 11 physics, though. I'm always amazed at how players all over the ice are really strong and can stand and withstand like cross checks and slashes and everything, but put them anywhere near a goaltender and tap them, and somehow gravity is more profound, and you really see
there have been some very fun dives in this series. Like, I think that Evander Kane dove on that trip in Game 5. The best one was Bob.
Yeah. Speaking of blue paint, Bobrovsky had the best dive. Almost concussed himself on the post.
That would have been so funny. Such a funny concussion.
If they call diving, if they call diving on it, like if they call embellishment on that one.
No, if he had to leave the series because he threw his head back
what a
and hit it
classy
against
Oilers
the post.
fan we have rooting for head trauma for Sergei Bobrovsky. That's how down bad he is.
I mean, I think Bob was rooting for it.
But Bean's got a point, because like that was an ST plunge. Right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
that was a complete ST plunge. I honestly, when I watched that, I thought, okay, 2 are going to go here. You're going to call the initial, and then you're going to call the goaltenders. I was stunned that they didn't call Bobrovsky on that one, because it was so. Because the one thing the officials don't want, like, it's like, look, just don't embarrass us. Don't flail. If you're going to go down, okay, fine, but don't do like the arms out to the wide. Like, don't go down like a starfish. Don't go down with the legs and the arms and everything. Like, don't draw attention to it. I understand players are going to embellish, borderline dive. I think the officials just don't want to be humiliated in the process. I think.
Well, they've humiliated themselves enough during the course of this Stanley Cup final. I know it's a hard job, but they've sucked.
But here's the thing. It's not as if like there's like a secret like room full of like the better referees. Like, first of all, like it's not like, okay, they keep it like the good referees locked up. Ha ha ha! You get these guys instead. We'll show you, hockey fans. Aha! And I am king. Curtain. Like it's not like that. My main takeaway from all this is, again, the game is too fast to call with the accuracy that people want. It is. It's just too quick a game right now. Again, like I always say, we're sitting here. Like I watch TV either in my office chair or from the couch and call penalties. Like I always tell people, like, you want to know what it's like go to a game and run up and down along the play as it's going on and try to call it. And you may make the point too that, listen, all of the officials are on the ice, which may be the worst place to try to call a penalty. considering how many bodies there are moving in concert at an accelerated rate of velocity right now. I really do think that we're at the point now where we really need to consider if this is a real problem to people, and I'm not necessarily saying that it is a major problem, if we want to have a different style of game officiated. For me, it's still fine. For me, I'm still fine with having the human. I'll tell you what, the best thing that I ever heard, which really turned my, because I used to be one of those like F the referees, F this. I remember playing beer league one night, and I got called for some penalty, and I was going to the box and yelling at the referee on my way. And the referee said, I'll never forget that, he goes, "You want better officiating?" And I went, "Yeah." He said, "We should be a better player then, because at your level, this is the officiating you deserve. If you want better officiating, go up a level. That's where the better officials are. But right now, I'm as good as you deserve. So get in the penalty box." I had no
you can't really respond to that.
Of all time. Like,
A+.
I'm like, yeah, you know, and I'm a hack and you're a hack, and I guess we're just sort of stuck with each other here, I guess.
I agree with you. Like, I like the human element of it. The thing that's bothered me the most, I guess, during this playoff is that players will play up to the threshold that they're given. And I just feel like the threshold has been changed too much. And it's resulted in a lot of inconsistency.
It's always going to be that way because nobody looks like, again, you can maybe take this all the way back to the creation of the two referee system as opposed to the one. When you had the one referee making calls, you had a feel for the game and you knew where the line was. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, it's a two referee system. I understand, because the game is a lot quicker. And now we're starting to talk about consistency. No one's going to call the game the same way. Like, if you two guys were official, do you see you have the same eyeballs? You have the same background? Like, you're gonna call different penalties.
You know what the solution is?
You know, what's that?
The NHL has to hire more twins. Have to hire more twins to be referees. You will get the same DNA, the same genes, the same keep it consistent across the board. Problem solved.
That's an awesome idea. That is a fantastic idea. You know, Stephen Welcome likes to recruit, you know, guys that play in Europe, play Division I. You got to be able to skate. You got to be able to keep up. No, just go for twins. Stephen Welcome. Right. Memo to Stephen Welcome from Pete. No, you gotta recruit. You got to recruit twins. It's not a bad idea.
Twins.
I was gonna say, like, it's the sponsorship sells itself. You do and twins. There you go. Amazing. All right, Merrick, you rule. What do you have on the sheet today?
Pierre Maguire and I will be talking about the final. We'll be talking about trade rumors. We'll probably be talking about Brad Marchand. We'll probably talk about the latest scuttlebutt around the NHL and what to expect at the draft. By the way, you want to talk about reading the room perfectly? At the Combine 2 weeks ago, whenever Brady Martin of the Sioux Greyhounds, whose stock is rising quickly, was asked about players that he compares himself to, Sam Bennett, Tom Wilson, music to every man. I'm like, this is marketing. Now, he is that style of player, but like went out of his way. Like the Florida Panthers effect, you will see at the draft. Make no mistake about it. Guys that play that way, Kashawn Aitchison is another one, defenseman for the Barrie Colts, will go higher than they normally would, just based on how the Panthers are succeeding right now in the NHL.
Shitheads are in.
We love Brady Martin. I was talking to a very bright young man named Evan Marinovsky, who I think is New England Hockey Journal, but he has a great Bruins podcast, and I would highly recommend you chat with him someday. He watches all these guys just like you do, and we were talking about Brady Martin potentially for the Bruins at 7 if he's there. And he brought up a point I haven't heard anybody make on Brady Martin, which is Brady Martin might be Sam Bennett, as everybody wants him to be, but how did drafting Sam Bennett with a top 5 pick actually work out? Because it took Sam Bennett getting to the right situation where he could be a really good third or second line player, and then he kept ascending and he's amazing now. But ask the Calgary Flames how drafting Sam Bennett worked out.
I'm glad you brought this up, because there's 2 pieces to it. There's the drafting piece, and then there's the other piece, which you always forget about, and that's the development piece. I know managers always get roasted. Oh, you missed on this pick. You missed. It's not that the scout misidentified. Was that second piece there? was that development piece there for that specific player? And so many managers and scouts get roasted on draft picks, and it's not the pick, it's the development that fell down. It's a really good point. It really is.
Okay, I think we still want to go to Utah.
We want everybody to go to Utah.
I want everyone to go to Utah.
If
Marshawn will
Utah,
shepherd him so well.
If Utah keeps the pick, that's the other one here too, right? Could Utah move down? Can they just flat out trade the pick? To me, Utah might be the most interesting team at the draft. If they keep 4, who are they taking? Will they flip with someone who wants someone at 4? Like, I got like all these, and again, like you just get carried away with stuff and you think about like, okay, the Pittsburgh Penguins are 11. Kyle Dubas loves Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds players. So they may try to make a trade with Utah to the Penguins move up to 4 to take Brady Martin. And then I think, okay, well, Porter Martone's dad is from Sault Ste. Marie, and Kyle Dubas put Porter Martone on the World Championship team. So the Penguins try to jump up to try to grab Porter Martone. These are the things we occupy ourselves with in advance of the draft. And then you know what happens at the draft, guys? Everybody makes their pick and everyone goes home. Happens every year.
You had me at Utah as the most interesting team. I think we all agree there.
They are.
We love them and we love you. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thanks, boys.
You're the
All
best.
Go
Talk soon.
We all silly like the mayor.
They entered that game with the same goals for and the same goals against. So they're losing games because they're not scoring just as much as they're losing games because they're allowing goals. Okay, November 10th in the United States and Canada. The train is never late. Have the Oilers reached rock bottom? After that 9-1 loss, they've lost 3 in a row. They've lost 6 of 8. The upcoming schedule, as has been documented, is hard. So we could do Are They in Trouble watch. But let's just ask, is that as bad? Well, no, stupid fucking question. That's definitely as bad as it's going to get. They're not going to lose more games 9-1, but it will be worse if in a month they're still losing games 5-4 and their record sucks.
Yeah, so the big takeaway from the 9-1 shellacking is that now we are about to find out who the Oilers are. Because in previous years, if these Oilers are the same as previous year's Oilers, they would respond to that by ripping off like 7 or 8 straight wins.
Not kidding.
And that's how they get back on track. And like you just said, not kidding. That is how they respond to those types of games. So with this schedule coming up, I think we're about to find out truly who the Oilers are and if it is okay to panic about the state of that team.
Yeah, I was seeing some, you know what? They needed this. It's better. This isn't some like last second fluke against the Blues, which I will say, even though the Blues were playing very well at that point and the Blues were a wagon, no one was beating them at that point. I didn't think that game was a fluke. I didn't think the end of that game was a fluke. I think that like Evan Bouchard is a real guy who did not get the puck out, and that's what happens when you don't get the puck out. I understand saying like, yeah, they've lost a lot of close games. They've lost a lot of games in the last minute, and it's not just you don't have the killer instinct. Maybe you need to get the shit kicked out of you to be like, until further notice, we're bad.
Yeah.
So we can change something about that. I didn't like how quickly, though, everybody was doing that because it just quickly turned into actually, no, it's good that we're losing 9-1.
It's definitely
like, it's
not good. It is definitely not good that you just got your absolute shit pumped. But I do, like, again, like, I think that there is value in getting the shit kicked out of you every once in a while. Like, I got the shit kicked out of me as an asshole teenager. Was I still an asshole teenager for like 5 more years? Yeah. But then at some point you realize you don't want to get the shit kicked out of you anymore and you get your shit together and you figure it out. And I think that the Oilers have an opportunity here to make that 9-1 loss look like it actually served a purpose for the greater good. But you're right in the sense that like if they start to lose a couple more games this week and like even if they lose close games, if you continue to lose games, you're just going to look like a bad team.
And that's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't want to get into the, like, is it good? Is it bad? Like, you lost? Bad. Try to win next game. But I'm more upset when they come out of games with no points.
There are no more losses for a team that has made the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row.
Yeah, like moral victories or moral
Moral losses.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Is that right?
No, you mean
No,
moral
just like
victories,
expand
but
on your
yeah.
point. I don't
victory.
get it.
Yeah, moral victory. Like you can't lose a game and say that like actually
okay.
that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Moral victory, I suppose.
I definitely agree with that. But more important, like I care about the points in the standings because nothing that happens in these games of like, oh, like they let go of the rope, they did this or whatever. I'm like, cool. Like get the second spot in the like try to win your division. Like try to make the first round of the playoffs. Or God forbid, like try to make the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, I'm not worried about them not making the playoffs right now. Like that, they still got McDavid, they still got Draisaitl. They're gonna find a way to make the playoffs, I guess. Like I'm looking at the standings right now.
They're 500.
They should not be worried about making the playoffs.
They're not far out of it. However, the Ducks, you have to say, are for real. The Kraken, you don't have to say anything you don't want to say. But like there are teams that are doing better than expected. But that's why we have U.S. Thanksgiving now. Let's talk about the goalies because I tweeted during the game after the Gabe Landeskog goal that was disallowed. Which, by the way, if there was a great part of that game, did you see what happened with the Landeskog goal?
No.
Gabe Landeskog scored his first goal since 2022, something like that. Like 1,000 years. His first regular season goal in a bajillion years. And I forget his name. But whoever that psycho video coach of the Oilers is, who is like the better at anything than anybody is in the world, just immediate challenge, offsides, got it. And it was the hardest. I watched that replay a million times, was texting with PD, and I was like, I know it's going to be right because this guy's a psycho.
Yeah.
Wiped it off.
Damn. Also, I hadn't realized that Gabe Landeskog hadn't scored a regular season goal.
I hadn't either.
That's crazy.
But I thought that was very, very funny.
That is very funny. It's not.
So it should have been 10-1, by the way, is the moral of the story.
I also don't think that it was the meanest review that took away a goal this weekend.
What was that?
Because last night in the Ducks game, they challenged a late Cutter Gauthier goal that would have given everybody in the crowd free Chick-fil-A.
Oh.
They challenged the goal, pulled it off the board, and all the fans who had celebrated winning free Chick-fil-A had that dream ripped from them.
And why is that? Why is that, boys? When was the game?
On a Sunday.
On a Sunday. Closed on Sundays.
That's right.
You're my Chick-fil-A. That's what the late Kanye West said.
Oh, Katie says that is the second time that Gabe Landeskog has had a goal pulled off the board this season.
Gabe Landeskog is on Glenn Close watch, and I love that.
Sorry to Gabe Landeskog. I'm rooting for like 15 overturned goals before he gets his first one. Incredible.
Got to keep happening.
Yeah.
Got to keep happening. Make it Glenn Close. Keep nominating Gabe Landeskog for you scored a goal. And then he doesn't win the you scored a goal. Absolutely love that. Now, for the goalie aspect of it. As I was saying, I tweeted during the game after that goal, because I thought that was a shitty goal, and I was ready to not just pull Stu out of the game, but punt him to Siberia. And within like 10 minutes, I was like, they got to lock Stu in for like $12 million a year going forward because he was making crazy saves. Eventually, the goals piled up. They pulled him out. I'm saying during the game, he was like oddly.
I understand what you're saying.
No fucking fun, this one.
I understand what you're saying. I think the Oilers got to do something about the goaltending situation.
Okay, a lot of people were making that game about the goaltending situation.
That's not the right call.
I know that you have to do it's nobody's fault. Or it's not just one person's fault. It's not just Stu's fault. It's not just whatever. But Knobloch was, and I agree, it's not Stu's fault or it's not whatever, because they entered that game with the same goals for and the same goals against. So they're losing games because they're not scoring just as much as they're losing games because they're allowing goals. And both of those figures, by the way, middle of the pack. Stu entered that game 8.99, which I would have to check it, was probably above league average going in, but like what was not
right around, probably.
Your starting goalie is so horrible that he's this and that and whatever. But everyone's going to make it about the goaltending because that's what we do with the Oilers. Knobloch was asked after the game, do you have it, Sean? Here it is.
Is this team losing some belief here when it comes to the goaltending situation?
I don't believe so.
You can't be, that's gamesmanship. You can't make it too obvious. If your team likes their goalie, you can't let everyone just know that. So you got, I don't.
I mean, you can't say that like, hey, we all love the goalie after a 9-1 loss.
Yeah. I'm willing to give him a little bit of leeway, and that was him trying to figure out how to answer that question and not him being like, I hate these fucking guys.
I think so too,
yeah,
but you
definitely.
have to answer that question. You have to just say,
you can't answer it like that because
You
it
have to
allows
say-
people to think that you fucking hate those guys.
right away, we love our guys. We like everybody works at. They've been
But
through a lot.
you
They've gotten
can't-
us.
You can't even really do that because, like you said, if you do that, then it's like, did you not just watch? Like, any kind of positivity after an asking like that probably isn't received very well either. So that's like I get. Maybe not the easiest question to answer. But
I think
you can't answer it like that.
I think I'm not Chris Knobloch, but I think the right answer would just be like, I'm not talking about the goaltenders. Everybody was shit tonight.
Yeah.
That's probably the move. Okay, Connor Ingram right now, by the way, and we mentioned Stu, haven't mentioned Calvin Pickard, who has not been good this season. Connor Ingram, .848 save percentage in Bakersfield right now.
They say it's harder to play goalie in the AHL than the NHL.
I agree with that. A lot of goalies will tell you that. So Connor Ingram proving it right. Having a really hard time.
Making a good case to call him up.
Yeah, having a very just showing just how hard it is to play goalie in the AHL. So is Ingram the guy? Maybe. Is UC Saros the guy? Because Jeff Merrick has mentioned him, and we're going to talk about the Predators in just a minute. What do you think of that? Because Saros is 38. It's 30 years old. He's in year one of an 8-year deal that carries a $774 million cap hit. I think we know what Juicy Saros is, but what do you make of him potentially being the solution there?
I mean, he would certainly excite me. He's a good goaltender, but like the contract would scare me a little bit. Like I know that it's not a bad price, but I think that just if you're the Oilers, locking into an 8-year term is inherent risk.
And are the Preds gonna? Someone has to eat that.
In like the Preds,
And you can't do
right.
double retention anymore.
Right. And like the Preds are going to want something for him. They're not going to like give him up for free.
Trent Frederick?
Whereas like, yeah, you can have Trent Frederick. 8-year deal for 8-year deal.
I actually don't hate that.
No,
I think the Preds probably do.
I think that they might not if they want to get off of that contract.
like, I think that if you're the Oilers, you're probably more looking at something like what Colorado did last year, which is kind of take a flyer or like a low risk bid on a goaltender with higher upside, who like, because you don't need a great all-star goaltender.
How about-
you need a guy who is going to be like average to above average most nights, and then if he performs well for you, then you can extend him and maybe not give him 8 years.
You know where I'm going.
Oh yeah,
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen?
No.
Alex Lyon.
No.
Levi?
No. The fourth Sabres goalie
Oh
that
my
they're famously
God.
trying to get rid of. And you said they don't need an all-star. Can I interest you in
Alexander
Georgiev, NHL all-star? Sabres are actively trying to move off of him.
I know they are because
why would it
nobody
should be?
wanted
Who
him
wants
for
him?
veteran minimum, and they signed him
For more than that.
for more than the veteran minimum. I don't like Saros for the Oilers.
Why?
And I want them to do something just because he's tiny. Like if you go from you're bigger than him. If you go,
I mean, your big goalie right now is not amazing.
yes, but like if you're going from a 6'4" giant who yes is not amazing to you see Saros is like 5'9", 5'10", something like
Yeah, but
that.
he's been an awesome goaltender for a long time in the NHL.
He's had awesome parts of his career.
He's had like awesome seasons.
Yes.
Like a string of awesome seasons.
I think that it is. I mean, maybe they want a shock to the system and they want the exact opposite of what they had, but I think they'd have to adjust to that.
You know what would be? You know what they'd have to adjust to and would be fun for the Oilers. I believe the book on UC Saros for a long time was that like he really took a while to get going at the start of seasons. So if the Oilers traded for a goaltender who was kind of shit in October and November, they might be hitting November like 0-15,
Oh,
which
yeah.
would be fun to keep an eye on.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to What Chaos here on YouTube. You will get everything, daily episodes, player interviews, and so much more. It's all here on the What Chaos YouTube. Hit subscribe.
I was going to say, if the Florida Panthers win the next 3 games and they all look like they did in game 2,
Yeah.
and we get a 5-game series in which like the team that I'm not really rooting for ends up winning the series, I will have no complaints.
It's still a great series.
Yeah.
But let's begin the show talking about the Stanley Cup Final, which now moves to Florida as the series is tied 1 game apiece. Both games going to overtime. Panthers winning game 2 in double overtime thanks to a Brad Marchand breakaway goal. And I am glad that we had a little time to decompress from it, because I'll tell you right now, this series should be 1-1. Do we all agree?
Yep.
If both games go to overtime, it's pretty fair to say, let's give 1 game to this team, let's give 1 game to this other team.
I don't think you don't give the games, but the series should be 1-1 because it's been won by a team on either side, and like I think the right team won in game 1 in terms of like who had the most opportunity, and then in game 2, the team that had the most opportunity ultimately ended up winning that game.
Game 2. One of the most exciting hockey games, maybe the most exciting hockey game of the year.
I would say so, yeah. Other than maybe the first round Oilers-Kings game 1, which was insane, but it wasn't as good of a hockey game. It was more of a circus.
Oilers, Kings, and Four Nations, I think we can put in their own like kind of specialty categories. But in terms of a Stanley Cup Final game, with lead changes, with a game-tying goal by the home team, and seeing a building go crazier than anyone has maybe ever seen a building go in a hockey game, that ruled. Double overtime, both goalies making big saves.
The nastiness of the series,
Nastiness,
like some controversial stuff. Like I think that game had a little bit of everything that you look for in order to elevate the Cup Final.
You watch the watch-alongs. Marchand scores the game-winning goal, and I'm just like, fuck, tip your cap, whatever. That sucks. It would be great for my team to be up 2-0. Angriest I got was like an hour and a half after the game. The Hockey News tweeted out the breakaway with, watch Evan Bouchard's back check here. And it's Leon Draisaitl's going for a change. He sees, oh, fuck, the puck took a weird bounce off the boards, and now the Panthers have it, and they're throwing up to Marchand. I got a haul ass, and Bouchard is also giving chase. Draisaitl has him. Bouchard backs off in case there's a rebound. And the Hockey News, which is supposed to
give news about hockey,
is instead, I hate to do this, like either stupid and doesn't understand hockey, or going for likes and clicks.
Engagement baiting.
That was engagement baiting, because 100% of the responses were quoting it being like, are you serious?
Well, I mean, that was like two parts of a lazy takeaway after game 2, which was that, and then the Stuart Skinner discussion. And like, I understand that if you want to have issues or be like, Stuart Skinner, I worry about his ability on breakaways. Well, maybe the Oilers shouldn't give up a handful of breakaways in front of Stu Skinner. And you can't say that Stu Skinner can't stop breakaways when he did stop multiple breakaways before giving up the breakaway goal to Brad Marchand.
Someone tweeted that at me. They were like, Stu needs to stop one of those. That's all I'm saying. And I responded.
At least one. He stopped the Marchand one, and then there was the Reinhart one that I also believe that he stopped.
Like maybe Grazov. Yeah, I responded. I said, he did. He did, too, in fact. And the person responded and was like, oh, yeah, my bad.
No, that's good behavior.
Awesome behavior.
That's great behavior.
Yeah.
Like in that moment being like, fuck, you got to stop those. He did. Shit, yeah, fuck. I just wish he stopped them all.
It's also like, it's like a penalty kick. The point of them, more or less, is it's an advantage to the skater.
They're supposed to score.
Yeah,
Although I believe most
More.
breakaways are like, it's like 2 or 3 breakaways don't go in.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, I guess compared to like the rest of how hockey is played, it is easier for a player to score on a penalty on a breakaway than just like on a 5-on-5.
For sure. But I guess, like, I mean, not to like push back on my own point here, but like Stuart Skinner or Brad Marchand had 3 breakaways. He scored on 2 of them. So
beating the odds.
You're supposed to only score on one of them.
I mean, I'm
That's
taking
Stu's
Brad
fault.
Marchand in that battle every day. And it's not just versus Stu. It's just big moment, game on his stick with more than half a second left. I know that everybody was comparing it to game 5.
Yeah, he has famously scored on every last second breakaway against Sergei Bobrovsky and the Florida Panthers in the playoffs.
Fuck. So
Always happens.
series is tied 1-1. Panthers are awesome. We knew the Panthers were awesome. We thought that the doom and gloom that was coming from our friends on the Le Batard show was a little overstated. But as Sean, you and I discussed after game 2, it's just how a series goes. Your team wins a game and you're like, that team's going to win. Your team loses a game and is merely tied, and you're like, I can't believe they're losing the series again. I can't believe it's all gone. Your life hangs in the balance of all of these games. And that's why we are trying to limit takeaways. And I was speaking of Le Batard show, our dear friend Roy Bellamy, and he was like, it's going 7. It was always going 7. So you can tire yourself out pulling your hair out about certain things and reacting to whatever. Like, you just got to know it's going 7. Do we think here that it's going 7?
Yeah, I think at this point it's. I would put my money on that versus
It's going 6
anything
or
else.
7.
Yeah,
I think one team. I don't think each team is done winning. Hot take.
here's the thing: is that if these games keep going to overtime and like progressively longer overtimes, like if we get triple overtime tonight,
We're getting 7. We're getting overtimes based on the number of the game it is.
yeah, right.
We're getting 7
corresponding
yes.
overtime games. Yeah, if it continues going to overtime, there is a chance that one team is just going to be fucking gassed and dead by the end of the series,
That
and it
is
doesn't
why
go 7.
I bit my tongue on it. I should have just manned up and said it. Remember, I said I have a declaration
Yes.
that I'm sitting on, but I'm not going to do declaration talk, and we just watched the game. And it was the Oilers should win this game because they are the less tired of the teams. If they win this game, and the Panthers, having played more games than anybody else, having played more games than anybody else the last 3 years, with some of their guys a little long in the tooth, although obviously some of the guys in the Oilers are a little long in the tooth, that is trouble time for Florida, going to a building where they don't play as well. If the Oilers went up 2-0 in that series, and the Panthers are playing long games and losing them, I would not declare anything or do a big takeaway, but I would be like, I am ready to say that it's looking very good for one team, and one team is lowercase t in trouble.
My big takeaway feeling after game 2 is like Panthers needed to win that game. And we went into game 2 saying it's not a must-win game by any means because we know that neither of these teams is out of any series, of any game. They've proven that throughout the course of their runs. But as that game went along, it was hard to escape the feeling like Florida didn't absolutely need it, especially having played a full extra game through the first couple of games in Edmonton. Like, if you had played, quote unquote, 3 games in Edmonton and you go back home with no wins, that would have been very, very tough to stomach.
Is a takeaway feeling the same as a takeaway? Because you started that point with my takeaway feeling.
I mean, we both gave
because
takeaways.
it was a feeling versus like a stamp.
You just use the word
You know what
takeaway.
Sean's doing? He's trying to make people think that you're all over the map.
Yes.
I did not, but if that is a result of this, then that's fine.
You're saying if that's a takeaway, that
yes,
Pete
yes,
is
that's
all over the map.
other people can have whatever takeaways they want.
We have a super chat that says, I believe it's directed at Sean from Cup. Yeah, nothing would make me happier than to see Sean wrong about the Oilers 4 series in a row. Love you, Sean, but I want to see your tears.
Well,
That's
here's the thing:
completely
you'll
valid.
never see Sean's tears. He won't cry about it because he'll just be all over the map
just
and
go to
pretend
the
that
other
he.
side of
Yeah,
the map.
exactly.
No, I
yes.
mean, like I said before the series started, I'm not going to be like if the Oilers win, there's too many people that I'll be happy for me to be upset about it. I am rooting for Florida. I did choose Florida, so that is what it is. I'll be wrong. But
I also think that like you don't understand. Like, can I do a little game called DJ Knows You Better Than You Know Yourself?
potentially, yeah, we'll see.
You're rooting for McDavid to win the cup. That's what you were rooting for.
I'm rooting for the Florida Panthers, but I will be happy. Like that'll be a positive, like a silver lining, if you will. Like I'll be happy that he won. I'll be happy that Jeff Skinner kinda won. I'll be happy for the Oilers Nation folk. I'll be happy for the city of Edmonton. But like I said a couple days ago, when I watch the games, I am rooting for the Florida Panthers to win. I can't help it.
Sean, take your shoes off before you go all over the map.
Yeah.
That.
I will
Okay?
say, by the way, the feeling that it's going 7. I did say maybe during the watch along that like all of these games are going to be coin flips, and sometimes you flip a coin and it lands on head 4 times in a row. Like
Right,
it's 50-50 chance. So like
That's all I want.
I think there's a good chance, obviously, that it goes 6 or 7, but like this shit ends in 5. Either way, I'm going to be like, I'll be surprised if any of the games are blowouts. But if we end up having 5 games of overtime or 1-goal games and one team wins in 5, like it'll be like, yeah.
Do we think there's a possibility? Sorry.
I was going to say, if the Florida Panthers win the next 3 games and they all look like they did in game 2,
Yeah.
and we get a 5-game series in which like the team that I'm not really rooting for ends up winning the series, I will have no complaints.
It's still a great series.
Yeah.
do we think that it can be like last year where the team that scores fewer goals wins the series? The team that gets outscored wins the series.
I don't think so, because I will be surprised if any of these games end up as blowouts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think like right now, how can you not think every game is going to be close? And off of that, it'll be 5-1 Florida now, or something like that. But I'm with you on that, Sean. I think that, if you think it's going to be anything but close games, the Panthers did everything right last game, and still, like that, man, like good for them. I would have been so fucking demoralized by that Corey Perry goal at the end of regulation, where you do everything right, and still you're like, how am I going to overtime right now?
Yeah, especially that goal. We watched that goal, saw like 3 replays, and we're like, how the fuck did he get that off? How did that go in? That goal was unbelievable.
Speaking of Corey Perry, you guys watch the PD breakdown?
No.
PD breakdown does not put it on Evan Bouchard. Puts it on actually Evan Bouchard being very unfortunate, because when the puck is coming off the boards, it hits like a crack in the board, something. It takes an unusual bounce to a Panthers player, and that's why they're able to, because like Bouchard was focused on just holding the blue line and keeping the puck in the zone. Ends up on the stick of a Panther. The rest is history. I think it was Ekholm who took a slap shot right before that led to all that. Corey Perry was right by the net. Ekholm took a shot wide, like at Perry. And you know what Perry did?
Got out of the way.
He got out of the way.
Hate to see that.
And PD wasn't saying like coward, but he was like, shots coming at you like that, it's human instinct to turn a little bit. If he just stayed still, pucks off him, game is over. And that's what's so great about these PD breakdowns. You see on almost all these big things, and he's not dramatizing it. Usually after like a big breakdown, he's always like, and here's how 10 seconds prior with one small thing, the other team scores instead. So make sure you subscribe to PD.
We all silly like the mayor.